respect for the way that they've operated over the last handful of years. So it's going to be a great challenge, something that we'll get started on as soon as we end up here.
Your defensive line has really played well the last 2 games. What is it about that group that's really come together in the playoffs?
I just think they played consistent. I think they've hit blocks the right way. I think when you start inside out, and Ndamukong Suh and Aaron and Brockers have been outstanding. I think Samson and Dante have brought physical presence. Have both brought a physical presence to our edges. And I just think then, that enables the second and some of our guys on the back end to be able to be a little bit freer. But I think the way that they're disrupting things, they're getting people off combination blocks. You can see when you get disconnected on different levels up front, whether you're in protection or in some of these zone schemes, it makes it really tough to run the football and obviously to protect if there's getting push in the pocket. And I think Ndamukong Suh stacked another great performance on another one. Aaron made big-time plays. Michael Brockers, I thought the tip pass that he had in the overtime period was a really big play for us. And then, Dante being able to force that ball that gets tipped. Samson's flying around. So I just think it's a credit to those guys, and I think Wade and our defensive coach has done an excellent job putting them in good spots.
What about going against Tom Brady, especially in a Super Bowl setting as opposed to maybe the regular season?
Yeah, really similar to Drew Brees. You're talking about guys that have been doing it as consistent as anybody. You just look at the amount of Super Bowl appearances that he's had, and just the way that he competes, his understanding, the way that he plays the quarterback position the right way. When you look in or when you're teaching that position or coaching that position, whether it's Drew or Tom, these are guys that they look. This is what it's supposed to look like when you're playing that position at a high level, with the decision making, the timing, the rhythm, the accuracy, the ownership of what they're trying to get done. And I have so much respect for him, and he's a elite competitor that, it's going to be a great challenge, just like Drew Brees was for us last week.
I know you talked after the game yesterday about the run game and the division, and now removed from it a little bit, not making those heat of the moment decisions. How do you look at that and how that played out? Do you think that was still the right way to handle it?
You talking about as far as the fourth down?
No, I'm sorry. I meant with Todd and CJ and just the split.
Yeah, I think that I definitely. You could have. I for sure should have done a better job of getting Todd more involved. I think the opportunities were so limited. Just whether it be a couple of the things in the pass game. I thought one of the things that doesn't show up is if you watch some of the 2-minute drills when they were bringing some zone dogs, different things like that, watching the way that Todd Gurley ends up putting his face on people in protection, enabling Jared to be able to sit in the pocket, make a 3rd and 10 conversion to Brandon Cooks on a big-time drive that leads to a touchdown. You look at some of the things in the last 2-minute drives, him making big-time pickups. He catches a check down that enables us to continue to move the ball. So he did a lot of good things. We didn't get as many attempts as we would have liked to. That's where that Dallas game, you're so appreciative of the efficiency that we were able to operate with. But, credit New Orleans. They did a good job. I thought CJ had some tough, hard runs, but I definitely think I should have gotten Todd a little bit more involved. But, again, like the flow of the game, we've got to do, kind of what we think is in our best interest. And, if anything that you love so much about Todd, and I think it epitomizes what's right about our football team, the ownership that he talks about, with regards to I got to play a little bit better. I also think that it is a result of the opportunities. He didn't have a lot of opportunities to play much better, so I think that's where I've got some ownership in that as well. And the great thing about it is he'll get a chance to make a big-time contribution and have a big role in our game against the Patriots.
Coach, do you welcome the 2-week preparation? Does that allow you to enhance your strategy?
It's a good question, and really this is the first time I've coached in a Super Bowl, so you lean heavily on coaches in our building, even some of the players that have had experiences with this. For the most part, what we'll try to do, just based on the understanding that I have with regards to some of the things that you have to do in Atlanta, all the other things that take place, you really kind of want to treat it like a normal game week this week, understanding that you'll continue to tweak your game plan once you get to Atlanta. But we want to try to get the majority of our plan in this week so that you can try to, be cognizant of the distractions that'll take place and not really trying to overload our players with a lot of new information that isn't necessarily indicative of we don't want these guys thinking. We want them to be able to go play, be decisive, and that's kind of the approach that we'll take. So it'll be more similar to a normal game week with the addition of tightening things up that following week.
Sean, back here. You were at the Super Bowl in 2002, right?
I was. Yeah.
What do you remember from that experience? Anything in particular?
I was so young at the time, but I remember it was a great game. I remember, for whatever reason, I really always respected both the offenses. I thought Eddie George was outstanding. Steve McNair's ability to create off schedule. Javon Curse, that was his rookie year where he was having a lot of success. And then you look offensively at Kurt Warner and how prolific he was. I can still remember Torrey Holt catching that slant, Isaac Bruce making big plays, Marshall's versatility. So just a fan of the game and watching that. And, I'll tell you what's so unique is you get a chance to be, in this role and the exposure that it gets you to people that you have so much respect for. Coach Vermeil's a guy that, he texts you after all the games, and he's been so supportive. And, watching the way that he connected with those guys and he wasn't afraid to, say, I love you to these guys. And, I think those players could feel how much he really cared about them and how much he was invested. And you talk about some of the adversity that team specifically, being our organization, faced early on in the year when no one gave them a chance, but they kept believing. Kurt Warner went on to have such a great season, but and then I also remember it was very icy then, so it was a real problem for us to get there, but it was a great game, and my grandpa got us tickets, and that was a good birthday present for me.
Saying that whole game from memory?
No, definitely not.
Read an article, and you've said this before, that you're not afraid to take somebody else's play. Yesterday, the Josh Reynolds 16-yard end around, did you see that from Kansas City the previous week?
They had run something similar. That we actually ran the same play to Josh the week before against Dallas for an 8-yard gain. You talking about Tyreek Hill's 35-yard touchdown? Yeah, so that one had a little bit extra something on it because it had a fly motion in addition to Higbee coming back across the formation. So, again, like everything else, Miles, it's similar, but then, you kind of add a little bit of juice on it, or a little spin that fits our offense. And that was a big time play by Josh. It might have been close if we had reviewed it. It might have been going in at that point, but it was for a very similar approach to what you're trying to attack the defense with. It was a similar play, but a subtle little tweak there.
Over the past 24 hours, have you gotten a sense of what this trip means to LA?
You know what? It's hard to say because we got back so late. But I do think that this city has had such a history of great sports success. We've talked about trying to be able to play in a way that makes this city proud. I think this city has definitely made us feel embraced. I certainly have felt embraced since we've gotten here as a coaching staff over the last 2 years. And what a great opportunity it's going to be to play for a world championship.
And you mentioned your grandfather earlier, but what was the first thing your dad said to you after you guys punched your ticket?
I think he was excited, man. I could tell that my mom and my girlfriend had been crying. They were so happy. And shoot, my dad, who knows? He was more worried probably about chest bumping all the players afterwards than coming and seeing me. So he was excited, though. It's a pretty cool thing right now.
As far as being a kid in Atlanta, going off into the professional world as a young man, going here, there, and now coming back, going back home for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's wild. There's a lot of people in Atlanta that mean a lot to me, that I've great relationships with. But I think this is about the Rams getting an opportunity to go compete. It happens to be in Atlanta. Our focus and concentration will be on going there to try to go win a football game. It's a blessing, to be able to get back there and see some people. But, this is about our football team. And if anything, it'll probably cause me even bigger headache with all the people that, I didn't realize how many friends I had from Atlanta until yesterday. So, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
Coach, any follow-up comment on the controversial no call?
Yeah, the one thing that, I think there's, when you slow it down, clearly you can see some of the things that took place. I think if you want to do that on every single play, though, there's a lot of instances. I mean, you want to slow some different things down with a face mask on golf, on some different things. What we try to do a good job of is understand that it is an imperfect game. I feel bad for when it occurred in the framework of the game, but I thought Sean said it best, too, where there's a lot of other opportunities and there's a lot of things that do dictate and determine the outcome of the game. Whatever happens after that, if it is called differently, you just never know. And all we can really do is control what we can control. And in a lot of instances, those things are out of our control. One of the things I've loved about our team is whether we feel like a call works in our favor or against it, they just keep competing, eyes up, next play mindset and mentality. You could see, I'm not going to shy away from the fact I did think it was a bang play after the game, but when you slow it down, I'm not going to sit here and say there clearly wasn't a little bit of contact before the play. Or before that ball actually arrived, but whether he catches it or not, there's a lot of things that go into that. But, that one did work in our favor, but there was a couple instances where it didn't, and we can't control those things.
Sean, 2 questions. Is Todd Gurley still hurt? I mean, is he working through still that knee issue? And Secondly, can you take us through the Patriots, what you do know about them, what they do well, offensively, defensively, kind of in your mind?
Yeah, to start, Todd's healthy, and he's feeling good. He sure looked pretty healthy on that touchdown run where he ran through guys and demonstrated some explosion and what we know about him. I just think really more than anything, I got to get him the more opportunities. And credit the Saints defense, too. They did some things to limit some of those opportunities. Like I said, that atmosphere and environment was incredible. They definitely did a great job of affecting some of the things early on with regards to how we can operate, and I thought the players handled it, for the most part, pretty well. But that's a really, really well-coached team, excellent organization. You see why they were the number one seed, had the best record in the league, and you got nothing but respect for those guys. As far as for the Patriots, I know that they do an excellent job, specific to game planning, where they've got the ability to understand from a defensive standpoint, all right, how can we manipulate your protections? How can we play a variety of coverage principles that take away what that team does best? They're going to identify a couple things that they say, all right, Coach Belichick's the best at this. What do the Rams do best, and how are we going to say we're not coming out of this game letting them beat us doing this? And that's why we've got to be aware of what are those things. I think that our players have done a nice job specific to the offense, demonstrating Jared spreads the ball around. You get 7 different guys involved, whether it's running the football, 5 different guys catching it that Jared spread it around to. Really, actually more than that when you include the backs. But all the tight ends, the receivers that were playing, got involved in the game. We've had the ability to run or throw it. So we'll see what kind of approach that they want to be able to take. But that they've got a great understanding of how to attack you and make you feel like, all right, you're in defense mode when you're on offense. And then specific to the offense, again, very similar where they've got the ability to personnel group you, change some different things specific to how they want to attack a defense. Obviously, Tom's understanding and the experience that he has with seeing a variety of different defensive structures is what makes him unique. His ability to throw the ball with accuracy, anticipation, the level of detail that they operate, whether it be in their screen game, their ability to run out of 2 backs, their ability to run it out of 1 back looks, spread you out into empty formations and get to some check with me's at the line of scrimmage. They're not limited in any way, and I think they're very similar in terms of the way that New Orleans applies pressure to you. But that approach and that intricate understanding of, all right, what can we do to really apply pressure, whether it be on offense to the opposing defense, whether it be their defense to the offense, and then some of the intricate things that they do specific to special teams with Coach Belichick's history as a special teams coordinator, is why they've been, one of the teams that everybody's saying, this might be the year for the Patriots, and here they are again in the Super Bowl playing their best ball when it matters the most. Really impressed with watching what they did against the Chargers, with how good and how complete the Chargers were as a team, and then to go into Arrowhead and do what they did, unbelievable. So it's going to be fun, but it's going to be a great challenge for us without a doubt, Gary.
Hey, Sean. Congrats, man.
Thanks, Omar.
When you look at everything that's gone on the last 24 hours, everything that's going to happen until kickoff, what are some of the keys, or maybe what have you heard in terms of preparing this team to be peaking 13 days from now?
Yeah, I think it's really about making sure that you try to get ahead as much as you can, eliminate some of the distractions that inevitably occur just based on the nature of the magnitude of the game, and then all the different people or friends and family that the players, the coaches want to take care of. So try to knock those things out early on in the week. Try to get a good jump start on your game plan where you're almost treating it as if you're playing this upcoming week. And then really just tightening the screws. That's where you rely heavily on Reggie and Ted and those guys to be able to help set up practice plans that are conducive for peaking at the right time in a couple weeks, but not ignoring the fact that this is a big-time game. There's a lot of other things going on. But our sole focus and concentration has got to be on enjoying the moment, but making sure that, we're going to try to win a football game. And that's what we've got to keep the main thing. And I think if we do that, everything else will fall into place. But it's going to take a great performance, and it's going to take a great couple weeks of preparation to get ready for, what's really been the standard around this league for the last handful of years.
Sean, back here. Since Cooper went down, in what areas have you seen Josh Reynolds specifically improve on to kind of fill that void?
Yeah, what he does, Robert really kind of slid into Cooper's position, but what Josh has done is just continue to get better and better. I mean, you talk about a guy that made some big-time plays and some big-time moments yesterday. he's catching an in-breaking route versus a quarters type structure that typically that's a bad play call by me. But Jared has the confidence to let it rip, and then Josh aggressively crossing face in the drive that ended up leading to us kicking the field goal to tie it to send it into overtime. Made another big-time play on the run. He's competing without the ball. You look at the little wheel route that he caught down the sideline. So he's just delivered on his opportunities, and whether that's competing with or without the ball, I think he's a great route runner. I think he's got a good aggressive hands. And for a player of his size, I think what we like so much about him coming out of Texas A&M was the body control, the way that he's able to work edges. He can open his stride up and put it down where that enables him to seamlessly separate. But I just think you're seeing a guy capitalize on his opportunities. And I think really what you love about our younger players is it seemed like whether it was him or even we were talking about with Gerald Everett, no moment is too big for those guys. And they made some big-time plays and clutch moments yesterday that ended up leading to a positive outcome for the Rams.
Just two quick ones. One, how did you guys come out of last night health-wise?
Good. We came out good, so it's going to be, we're pretty much in a good place right now. Just your typical bumps and bruises after a physical game like that, but we don't anticipate anybody really missing any time. Blake had a little plantar fascia with his foot, but I think that he should be good to go.
And NFL Films has a video that just came out of Ted Rath following you up and down the sideline.
Yeah.
Make sure you don't get out too far on the field. How was Ted the lucky guy to land that job?
Well, I think he's the most mentally tough guy that knows that, because what they did leave out on that video was some of the times when he's grabbing me like that, and I said, what are you doing on that? But he's kept me out of harm's way, where you bump into those officials, and, you're talking about a legitimate personal foul. So he's great at what he does, and like you said, it's a nice little dance that we play that I don't even know I have a partner behind me. All right, thank you.